Don in London, hello. It's March 15th, Ides of March 2010. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour, equally addictive to work, relationships, materialism, collecting it. I collected everything, and I've just had a weekend of looking in my cupboards to see what is useful. And an awful lot of things needed to go, and a friend of mine was doing a car boot sale, or I think you call it, sometimes it's called a garage sale as well. So many items have disappeared which have ceased to be useful to me, but might be useful to other people. So materialism, I'm getting back into balance, and the same applies for being sober, one day at a time. One day at a time I keep sober, making choices to the good of living. So I don't drink on a daily basis. I try not to obsess about people, places and things, and just take life as it comes, which is quite different from the 35-year drinking career, which was probably based mainly on fear of being less than good enough, so always striving to be perfect and never so, fear of being found out as being inadequate in some way or other, and striving always to be whatever I thought you thought I ought to be, because I had no clue and no real identity. Somehow I'd skipped that part of my personal development. So very fearful as a kid, never knowing where safe was, never knowing that the gap inside me, that emptiness, was there for a good reason, to be filled with things which would help me and be good for me. So a lot of time trying to cover up, not feeling quite right about life. So these days I feel much happier living one day at a time and not trying to control it, letting go of the obsession of trying to be perfect and be right with other people, and being right generally. So all I know these days is what is working for me, and very often the trap is I start to judge others and their behaviour when I only need to look at my own behaviour and what is good, to the good of good conscience. So a lot about letting go this month in March, and understanding that if I let go my self-will, my obsessiveness about trying to be perfect, I can find that elusive balance in life. So what helps me? Well, I can't do it on my own, I've discovered. I tried for many a day, or many a week, many a month, many a year, to try and solve my problems on my own. And that's excluding behaviour. It meant that I was trying to do it on my own, excluding the advice, the wisdom of other people, and their love to a large extent, because if I let them down, what on earth would I do? So a man on the run, often, but not these days. I slow down, and when confronted with interesting situations in the past few years, it's been more about exploring the possibilities and the choices, not only for myself but for the people around me. So more inclusive behaviour, to be included, to understand that I can have choices, and that love comes along as it will, and love can be fraternal, brotherly, sisterly, or romantically, and all of those things have happened. And the gift is the girl who said I'm interested in you has become one of my best friends. We're not going out romantically anymore, but she is actually one of my best friends, and that is a marvel. And of course these relationships change as life changes, so I'm very aware that I'm still vulnerable to feeling the loss, more so when she eventually finds somebody else. Anyway, that's a bridge not yet found. What keeps me sober? A fellowship, family, community, professionals. But the fellowship part is really what I share here, and that's Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't speak for it, never can, never will, never have a desire to. And I'm not a spokesperson generally about anything but my own sobriety. But I do share about AA because it helps me, and it is the backbone of my recovery, and it makes life possible. Keeps me in balance, keeps me with people who can be as mad as me on a daily basis, finding sobriety and serenity. So what is AA? AA, there is a statement of intent or a preamble shared at every meeting I go to. I have a choice of 700 meetings in London, so I can't go to them all. It would take 3 years. No, 2 years. But the gift is, they're there. So AA, what is it? And this is the AA preamble, and it reads like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So whilst I don't speak for it, I understand completely that it is about sobriety, and the primary purpose is to share a message and be sober. So that's what I'm trying to do, and I do it because it helps me, reminds me on a daily basis what is good for me. And I share from this book the Daily Reflections, and in this book it covers the 12 steps of AA, 12 steps of action for an individual to find how to change our attitude and behaviour on a daily basis. So when we're up against it, we can go to our negative side very quickly, but the 12 steps help us understand how to make good choices, to keep our attitude positive and keep our behaviour in balance rather than going to those extremes. And March in this book all about step 3, which is letting go and letting good in, or let go, let God, depending on your personal beliefs. And it reads today for March 15, the God idea. And the God idea for me was out of the question when I was drinking. And my teaching, if you like, and my learning had been to reject the idea of some sort of spiritual life, be it religious or non-religious, just spiritual, which is, for me, living in the moment of now. And for me, God is truth, God is love, God works through people. And beyond that, I don't know. I don't need to. But if I can let the world in, the universe in, then I've got a living chance to make good choices. So it reads like this, the God idea. When we saw others solve their problems by a simple reliance on the spirit of the universe, we had to stop doubting the power of God, truth, love, working through people. Our ideas did not work, but the God idea did. Like a blind man gradually being restored to sight, I slowly groped my way to the 3rd step. Having realized that only a power greater than myself could rescue me from the hopeless abyss I was in, I knew that this was a power that I had to grasp, or just understand, and that it would be my anchor in the midst of a sea of woes. Even though my faith at the time was minuscule, it was big enough to make me see that it was time for me to discard my reliance on prideful ego and replace it with the steadying strength that could only come from a power far greater than myself. And for me, that is the wisdom of the universe, the wisdom of people, and what is going on around me. So when I first got to AA, God, that word God, was all over the place, and it discouraged me and made me fearful because it meant giving up my self-will. But what I didn't realise was my self-will had run riot, self-obsessive and prideful ego. And these days, one day at a time, hopefully it's less so. So I try let the universe in and let people in to help me with their wisdom, their experience, strength and hope. What more? Love, of course. And that serenity prayer, which I share at the end of my videos, is to good conscience or God as you understand. It's your understanding which is so important. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is for me simply, very simply, just for today.